to go! GNCC Racing! Hello and welcome to America's premier off-road racing championship, the 2019 AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. I'm Rodney Tomlin along with you today from Snowshoe, West Virginia, the luxurious Snowshoe Mountain Resort. But 2 weeks ago, we were in upstate New York at the Tomahawk GNCC, where, of course, we got to see a great treat of racing and a mix of weather throughout the course of the weekend. Some rain showers on and off, a little bit on the dry side as we got things started off here in the afternoon, but we saw some wet conditions as Caleb Russell out to the lead early in this one. Not much of a surprise to see Monster Energy Kawasaki ride of Jordan Ashburn back there knocking on the door, and of course, as always, a little position jockeying going on through the woods as they take turns leading here on lap number 1. But as this race wore on, it looked like that Thad Duvall was wanting a piece of that first place pie, and he takes over that early lead, and then of course followed by Russell. And look at this, Trevor Bollinger up into a number 3 position, looking to take a podium on his Rockstar Husky. As the race wears on, the rain comes down, and then all of a sudden advantage back to Caleb Russell, and Russell will take the win in this New York mud, and actually I think may have had a little bit of fun in this one. He really seems to be growing accustomed to all the conditions out there.
Well, optimistic coming into the race this weekend. Just the way my bike was feeling and the way I rode at the last race, it has a hard base underneath like this place. And yeah, I was just a little uneasy and not really sure where I was going to be. And I made a couple little changes and got out there, got going, and man, my bike was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was working awesome. It was working perfect out there, really. And the rain came down, and I was loving it. It was the best thing it could have done. I mean, it made the track better, really. And then those last few laps, it started tacking up again, and man, it was kind of just paddle around after that. You know, I lost the flow a little bit, Thad and I both, just because there's trying to get around lappers, and then the stuff got so thick it just pulled you left and right, and it was hard to keep that momentum driving forward. But we had a good time, and just got to give it up to everybody sticking around out here. It's a muddy mess, and tough on everybody and everybody's equipment. But the FMF KTM team did a great job. My mechanic Cody and everybody out underneath the tent. Just thank you.
Chalk another one up for Caleb Russell as he makes his bid for his 7th consecutive GNCC championship title. Thad Duvall will check in second. Stu Baylor in the number 3 spot. Bollinger will hang on to 4th as we pick the action up here at Snowshoe. The tradition of the Blackwater 100 start, where we start in rows of 5. -1 Trevor Bollinger on the front row of this one due to some illness this morning. It is Caleb Russell getting off with the early lead in this one. Stu Baylor in second. Looks like we've also got Ben Kelly and Thad Duvall. Row 2, we see straying also DeLong, Jordan Ashburn, and also Mike Witkowski from the XC2 Pro Lights, minus Josh Toth due to some injury earlier in the week. Row 3, Craig DeLong, Ricky Russell. We see Evan Smith, Austin Lee, and Corey Buttrick in that one. Row number 4, Jesse Ansley from the FMF XC3 class. Also, we see Liam Draper, Grant Baylor, and Ryder Lafferty in this one as our front 4 rows, and that would be your top 20 in points heading in to round number 8 of this GNCC. And picking this action up down here in Howard's Hole, where we see the leaders have already made their way through, and the carnage is left behind. Of course, a lot of this damage and a lot of this taking place yesterday in the ATV racing, but these bikes have got a lot to face here today as we roll through lap number 1. This is the east side of the mountain, and of course another west side. They take 20 minutes or so on one side, 30 minutes or so on the other to complete one whole lap. Who's going to win when it's all said and done? A lot of challenges lie out there. Stick around. GNCC continues after this.
GNCC on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC on NBC Sports. Rodney Tomlin along with you as we pick the action up here in Snowshoe, West Virginia. The wild and wonderful place, of course. And look at all these rocks and that challenging terrain as Caleb Russell opening up with the early lead. You see these two number ones out in the first and second place positions. And what are they doing starting on the same row? Well, Snowshoe a little different. We take the top 20 overall in points and line them up accordingly, not in classes, but in the overall standings. And actually, it's a rather unique style of racing. Each row starts at different times, so each row is zeroed out. And literally, you don't even have to finish in front of someone if you're close enough in time behind them to beat them. That's the beauty of this race, and also the snake bite part of it sometimes for some of these riders. But it'll be rather interesting to watch this one. It's our front four of Russell, Baylor, of course, Ben Kelly and Duval out front in this one. And all of a sudden, from back on row number 4, it looks like we see Ricky Russell actually from row number 3. He's starting some 30-40 seconds back of these riders now. And, of course, that puts him into the lead on adjusted time as well as physical now. And that gives him quite a bit of a buffer. Several of these guys could still get by, and he could still be in the lead on adjusted time. But right now, Ricky Russell, the rough and rowdy one from out in the mountains of Washington, seeming to be able to tame this West Virginia mountain as we've seen him have successes here in the past. So no big surprises here as Caleb Russell still keeping that rider in sight. And basically our top 5 riders all within striking distance of one another, rounding them out right now. The 989 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna ride of Thad Duval. And again, nose to tail, kind of a trail ride. It almost looks like a rather quickly paced trail ride. Look at this, Ben Kelly right there, well within striking distance, and a lot of folks are expecting the possibility of Kelly maybe taking the win in this one today, physically out there. We'll see as he goes head-to-head with the best in the world, and he has proven himself to be one of the best in the world, even from that XC2 250 Pro class. So interesting to watch how things are unfolding here in West Virginia as Ricky Russell continues to lead. Caleb Russell is still right there in the thick of things, and Ben Kelly, nope, that's now Thad Duval moving into the number 3 spot. And as we move a little further down the trail, it looks like that the 212 starting to pick the pace up just a little bit. And Caleb Russell trying to keep that pace as well. Look how deep and rough and rugged these rocks are out there. They're jagged, they're popping up everywhere. Take a rider out and down pretty quickly out there. Rather rough and rugged. This is one of the reasons that this racetrack has been deemed as America's newest, toughest race. And this isn't even a tough part of the racetrack. We're just starting to see some of the race space develop in some of the camera spot areas where we're at. One of the fire roads that you hear the riders talking about out there. This one a little bit muddy as we have seen some rain showers leading into the racing this weekend. And the low-lying areas of this mountainous terrain will hold some of those some of that water out there as we see here in places like Howard's Hole. Here's one of the big fire roads that we talk about with a lot of speed, and Ricky Russell continuing to lead this one as we are out near that 3-mile marker here on the east side of the mountain. Caleb Russell still back in the number 2 spot, but is he going to be able to keep that pace that the rough and rowdy one is setting? There is Thad Duval back in the number 3 spot. Who's going to be able to hang on to this one and tame the wild and wonderful Snowshoe Mountain Resort? Stick around. GNCC continues after this.
GNCC on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC on NBC Sports from Snowshoe Mountain Resort in Snowshoe, West Virginia. It looks like we've got a new leader on the race course. That is the 514 of Stu Baylor now, up from a 4th place position. We're talking about the rough track and how it can sneak up to bite you. Looks like that it has worked into the favor of the 514. The big question is, does he still have the lead on adjusted time as we see the 212 of Ricky Russell close in tow here as we're nearing the midway point of this race now. So Stu Baylor out front physically, back in 3rd physically on the racetrack is The number 212 of Jason Raines with a slight advantage, only a couple of seconds, still lead, I believe, as we were looking at this one. But nearing the end of the lap, I'm sure we'll see things change. There's Baylor still going through one of these creek beds now as we roll through, actually not even a creek bed, more of a drainage ditch area there of the mountain. And Caleb Russell starting to see a little bit of a gap open up. I'm going to say 10, 12 seconds quite possibly there, with about another 6 or so, maybe 8 back to the third place ride of the 212. And that still should put that number 212 machine in the number 1 position of Ricky Russell, but time will certainly tell the tale on that one. Now out here on the 2-mile marker on this east side of the mountain, Caleb Russell starting to close that gap back up as we see maybe some speeds on that fire roads, and these fire roads have helped out. Now out near the 3-mile marker, there is Stu Baylor still leading this one, and wow, he must have really geared it up a little bit, because we're seeing a bigger gap now opening up. Only a mile down the trail between he and that second place ride, which is still the number 1 of Caleb Russell. And Russell looking to see just exactly where that 514 may be. You can see that he's already starting to put a little bit of a gain on things there. So you got to wonder, will Caleb Russell wig things up and take those chances here, as we are just past the halfway point of the 2019 championship season. Russell with a fairly comfortable points lead, but a little bit out of sorts here it looks like, as he gets hung up, but he is out front. He's gotten around Stu Baylor. We see Baylor now has dropped off to the number 2 position, so Baylor's been bitten as well. Now we see him losing time here in that number 2 position, so big things taking place here as we are nearing the completion of this racetrack. Stu Baylor actually in pretty good control of the race for a good portion, a couple of laps here as we roll through the Snowshoe GNCC. But now, as we are, well, waning in this third hour, he's starting to struggle a little bit, and Caleb Russell is taking full advantage of this situation and scenario. But all of a sudden, a little further down the trail, you see what's happening out here. That swapping back and forth, one little mistake can cost you hugely. So Caleb Russell back to second, at least at this point in the race. Let's see what happens the next time we pick these riders back up. And there's Caleb Russell back out in the number 1 position now. So that's how quickly things can change. And there, once again, the 514 of Stu Baylor pushing hard now as he is trying to capture the win here in one of the toughest races this championship series will see each and every year on the docket. Doesn't matter what the conditions may be, whether they're wet or not, it's always a tough one, and this one won by the number 1 of Caleb Russell. These two with a friendly wager coming into this one over the whole shot and the win, and they come basically nose to tail across the finish line. Two great friends celebrating here in the mountains.
Yeah, this place is it's special. I used to dread coming here, absolutely despise it. I wanted this place to burn to the ground and never see it again. But you grow older, and I started to win some races, and I needed to change my attitude a little bit and turn the races into the ones that I didn't like into the ones that I enjoy the most, and I kind of did that, and it's mind over matter. And this is my 6th win here. Man, I enjoyed the whole weekend. We come up early and play golf and hang out with friends and just enjoy the weekend up on this beautiful mountain. And the first 2 hours is basically like a glorified trail ride for some of us up at the front. It's pretty fast paced, but Ricky got off to a great start, and he wanted to go, and he was taking some chances on those fire roads. He was going quick. I was like, man, that's a little sketchy, not first lap, but he was making it work, and just picking my way around. I don't think I was ever out of the top 3 all day, and which is good, and I enjoyed the course, and it was getting tough, and then Stu really put the hammer down and tried to get away, and we closed the gap and made a move over by the 7-mile marker, and I actually fell over here, and we went back and forth a couple different times on that last lap, but it was a fun race. And yeah, I just got to give it up to the whole FMF KTM team. They did a great job. They got guys spread out all over the course, and those guys worked their butts off. So to win here and extend the points lead before I guess we're not going summer break. We got one more, but anyways, it was a great day, and got to thank the whole team.
Well, no summer break just yet. As Caleb Russell pointed out, we still got the high voltage GNCC, the makeup from the Big Buck, which got rained out earlier in the championship. But taking a look at these results, you can see it was a challenge, and Stu Baylor holds on for second.
Yeah, you know, Caleb and I, the last couple laps, like I pulled a Caleb. I kind of waited and I caught my breath, and I saw a weak spot. I knew those guys had to pit, so I sprinted to get right on them when they pitted over on the side, and I was able to get a good gap over on this side of the hill, and able to still pit and continue to lead. And I knew where I was fast and where I wasn't, and you know, I was really fast on this side all day until the last time through, and Caleb was just cleaning the lines the way that I had done it the lap before, and I was riding a little bit sloppy, and we went back and forth, I think 4 or 5 times that last lap, and I knew I had the drive, I had the speed to make it on the PowerPoint. Like I had the upper line. It was a line that I had taken the lap before, and it was really fast, no rocks, a lot of dirt, and a lapper just kind of screwed me. But you know, that's racing. I can't be mad about it. I had a hell of a ride. This is the first time I've been back on the podium. Like we talked earlier, you know, I've talked a lot of shit on the road bed racing, and they made it gnarly again. It was Snowshoe. It was fun out there. You know, obviously the top 7 or 8 of us were all in a train, and that's when it's a gnarly track. That's what you'll see. That was a good sign of a damn good race. And the last 2 laps, I tried to give everything I had, and Caleb was able to match me in the sections where he had been weak the lap before, and you know, it was fun. It was right down to the wire. I mean, a couple seconds, and that's how good racing is. So you know, I'm happy with it.
Well, Stu Baylor tells it like it is. There's not many out there on the trail like him, that's for sure. And of course, just behind him, finishing in the 3rd place position, Ben Kelly.
Yeah, it was a solid day for sure. Yeah, it was nice starting on the front row, and yeah, I got off behind Caleb there and was following him for pretty much the whole lap, and yeah, I kind of got passed by Thad and Stu there halfway through, but through one of the bike-only sections, I was able to get back by and get right on Caleb and them, and I was feeling good, just you know, saving energy, kind of riding like they were, and yeah, I had a gnarly wreck in the downhill rocks, just you know, not holding on tight, trying to be loose, and just went down and kind of lost touch, but was able to regroup and run them back down the 2nd lap, and yeah, I just tried to stay with them best I could, but there near the end we kind of got separated, and yeah, Caleb and Stu pulled away, and yeah, unfortunately Thad had a DNF, but yeah, I felt good. Yeah, Ricky was up there with us pushing and charging, but yeah, I just kind of rode my own race after that crash because it was slick out there, and if you weren't careful, you'd be on the ground, and you don't realize how fast you're going until you hit the ground. So yeah, just stoked to get another win in XC2 and be able to ride with the top guys and be on the overall podium again.
Wow, what a whale of a day. Thad Duvall out of this one. Kind of concerning as he was once again a challenger for the championship against Caleb Russell. And early in the race, quite a bit of a challenge as well as he held steady with that front pack. Seemed to be controlling his home state mountain here in West Virginia, but things kind of getting away from him as the race wore on this one. Of course, it was Caleb Russell out front early, and Ben Kelly sticking right with them all day long. They're starting out on row number 1 with the top 5. Big surprise, I think, was how quickly the 212 machine of Ricky Russell was able to work his way into the number 1 position. Then from 4th place into the number 1 spot physically, and for a while second on adjusted time, but eventually bridging that gap and pulling out to the lead was Stu Baylor. There you see the 212 of Ricky Russell still back in the 3rd place position physically on the track, but as time wore on, that overall adjusted lead kind of slipped away, and the battle came down between the 2 KTM boys. It was the terrain and man and machine going at it head to head. These two had a lot of fun coming into the weekend playing golf and playing cards and things of that nature, and they had a lot of fun swapping the lead position on the last couple of laps there. See Stu Baylor finding his struggles there in the final moments of the race, which may have been what cost him that win, but as close as they came across the finish line, it certainly was a great day of racing for everyone, including the race fans that was treated to this spectacular finish at this spectacular venue known as the Snowshoe Mountain Resort and the Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC. Who tamed the beast this year? Well, is Caleb Russell once again, 2nd place it was Stu Baylor. And third overall, that young man Ben Kelly from the XC2 Pro Lights class. That'll do it from Snowshoe Mountain Resort. I'm Rodney Tomlin. Great day, everybody.